NBA History Channel is powered by Prize Picks, the exclusive daily fantasy partner of the CLNS Media Network.
Welcome to a new edition of Showtime with Coop. Insightful BS with my Laker teammates and NBA legends. And we're bringing in, he's a legend, but he's from the urban side of the street. He's from Salem, Oregon. His name, and this will be the last time you hear his government name. His government name is Grayson Scott Boucher. Did I say that right?
Boucher. Close. You close.
But he is also, he's known, and the only name we know him by is the Professor. He has 8 million followers. He is a playground, blacktop, urban legend, and he's one of the original and one mixtape players. Everybody welcome the Professor.
Hey, man. Humbled, man. Thanks for having me on.
Welcome in, Professor.
Yeah.
Been watching your stuff for years, man.
Oh, thanks so much.
Welcome. Sorry to steal your thunder, Coop. I don't want to,
Welcome, Professor. And I want to give out, because I did my background work on you too, Professor. I did. I asked people about some nicknames, and you're going to tell us how you got the Professor. But here's some of the nicknames of some of the people I've talked to down at Venice Beach and some other places you've been here in L.A. White Chocolate, Brother from Another Mother, Sir Ankle Breaker, The Handler, and the one I like the most, and again, this is a quote from a gentleman named Lamar. I don't know if you've ever, Honky with the Funky.
I never heard that.
He settled on the Professor. Professor, how'd you get that nickname?
Yeah, well, in the early 2000s, it was almost like weird if you gave yourself a nickname. So I got it from the MC of the N1 Mixtape Tour, who also was one of the original MCs of the Rucker Park. His name's Duke Tango. He gave me the name. I think he thought I looked like a professor, but he said, I was schooling people on the court.
Well, you are a simple looking guy, but you know what, Nick? This young man can play. I had the opportunity to, and again, I was a senior. I was 50 plus when I played the Professor. I had a chance to go against him one-on-one, and he didn't clown me as much as he could have, and I appreciate that. But a very good basketball player from, like I said, from Salem, Oregon, went to McNary High School. And you went to junior college, and you say it, Professor, because I don't want to mess it up. Where?
Temecula Community College.
Temecula Community College. What was it like playing basketball up there?
It's, for me, it was like great just to play college. I'm like a lifelong underdog. I feel like my whole career, especially like in school, I was always like put to the side and not really like looked at to give an honest chance. So I got cut from a few community colleges before I went there and walked on. And then when I was on there, I had a great time because I just love basketball in general, but I was a bench player. I only went in the game if we were up by 20 or if like some people got injured or something like that. You know what I mean? I played only a few minutes a game, but then after that, my freshman year, I improved like 300%. You know what I mean? Like I hit puberty late. I finally hit the weights. I got a little more physical on defense, and things just kind of like clicked for me like after my freshman year. But then by that time, I tried out for the N1 Mixtape Tour. So that was kind of my college run.
Now, did it take you a long time to work on your ball handling? Nick, and I'm pretty sure everybody has heard or knows the Professor, follow you on Instagram and YouTube. What does it take in that? I was just a basic dribbler. Back you down, one hand. Okay, I had a little crossover, nothing like yours, and left-handed. How did all that evolve for you?
Well, you're so gifted, you don't need it, man.
Good answer. That's why he's the Professor. That's why he's.
I needed all the skill, everything I could get. But from a kid, I was always just like, I think it was just God's plan. I was always into the ball handlers. You know what I mean? From Tim Hardaway and Rod Strickland, and then and Magic. When I was real young. And then it was like Allen Iverson as I got older, and Jay Will.
If you want to make a memory, you got to go to Game Time. All right. Game Time has a new feature called Game Time Picks that makes getting tickets to see your favorite teams play live even easier. Game Time Picks filters out the fluff to show you all the incredible deals and the great seats so you don't have to waste time searching through thousands of seats. You've got the super deal, and they make it easier to find the best price on great seats. And I think this is so cool, is when you click on the ticket, right? You go to the app. If you want to go to a game in Boston, you want to go to a game in New York or Philadelphia, whatever, you go to the city and you click on the game you want to go to, and then they just show you a great easy to read layout of the stadium, and then you click on the seat you want, and then you get a view of the seat right from there. Boom, you know what you're buying, so you get seat views before you buy, and they have the lowest price guarantee toggling here with the Game Time app. Now this feature shows the total upfront, no surprise fees at checkout, so you know what you're dealing with. You don't click on the button after and you go, wait a minute, what's that extra $20 for? Also, Game Time will credit you 110% of the difference for the lowest price guarantee. They have the lowest price guarantee, or Game Time will credit you up to 100% of the difference. So take the guesswork of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use the code CLNS for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem the code CLNS for $20 off. Download Game Time today. What time is it? Game time.
And then I was known as like a ball handler my whole life, you know what I mean? But it was more within the fundamental constraints of the game, you know, whether that was no-look passes or crossovers or whatever it was. So my whole life was dedicated to the craft. To be honest, I have no social life. I had no girlfriends, no football games. I literally was just like a basketball nerd, and that's all I did. And then you know, that was it. So I think by the time the And One Mixtape Tour rolled around, or by the time there was an opportunity to be put onto the global scene, I'd already just been working for it my whole life. I never saw it in that light, right? Because as your kid, everybody wants to make the NBA. Even me, I was in junior college. I was delusional on the bench. I thought I was going to the league. I only played 2 games at a community college, but I think I was just meant to like entertain like through streetball.
You didn't mention Isaiah. You didn't mention Isaiah Thomas. How could you leave Isaiah?
I was so young. You know, I'm born 84.
Okay, so you're like 6, 7 when he retired. Yeah.
Yeah, this year I'm 40 years old. Like, I seen Coop and them play and Isaiah Thomas only for like a glimpse, and I kind of had to like look back and research.
YouTube. Yeah.
Well, I mean, even before that, they had VHS tapes and stuff. I got the NBA Jam session. VHS tapes, you know what I'm saying? And
I had them all, bro. I had them all.
Below the rim. There was like a below the rim. So I studied all. So yeah, definitely Isaiah for sure. But I mean, what I was taking captive to was the stuff that was happening right now, right? It was like sort of the end of Magic's run. You know, Rod Strickland and Tim Hardaway were some of my favorite guys. Obviously, I loved Michael Jordan. But then when he retired, it was like Iverson and Jay Will. Yeah. And Iverson was the first player I emulated. I got that crossover, that left to right crossover. Yeah. That was like the first handle move that I had that could like wow the crowd. So, you know, just being influenced and really like being dedicated to the craft. I had a trainer. My parents got me with an individual trainer when I was in 4th grade, and that was like a huge key. He taught me a lot of key footwork with the in and out crossover. You know, he taught me that Iverson crossover. I had like an arsenal by the time I was in 5th grade. You know what I mean? I cross over adults. So, you know, it was just dedication to the craft.
You know what, Professor? I was looking at your YouTube, and you have your top 10 ankle breakers or your best favorite moves.
I saw that too.
You see that? I don't know if you can remember this, but it was number 4.
Okay.
No, number 6.
Okay.
And you were playing this guy, a kid, and you did something, man. But that kid slid all the way across. Do you remember that? He slid across the floor.
Yeah. I do remember
that was amazing to me, man.
Well, humble, man, coming from you, but yeah, I think that was in Costa Rica. I don't know what happened. Like he was like being real giddy, you know what I mean? So I felt like I could shut him up. And after I snatched it back, I think he had like lost his balance anyway. He just kept going and kept going, but it was funny.
No, you made him lose his balance on that one. Yeah.
Prize Picks is America's #1 daily fantasy sports app. They've got over 5 million active members. Look, it is the easiest and most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. Now, unlike all the other apps, Prize Picks, it's just you against the numbers. That's it. Now, you can win up to 100 times your money on Prize Picks with as little as 4 correct picks. And 1 Caleb Williams passing yard gets you 1 win on Prize Picks every week in September. That's right. Only 1 yard gets you an automatic win every football weekend in September. 4 weeks of free W's. Don't miss this deal on Prize Picks because it's gone when September ends. Now, here's an example of a player projection lineup. You could be going Tyreek Hill for more than 90 receiving yards or Dak Prescott for more than 263 passing yards. On the other end, Josh Allen for less than 240 passing yards and CeeDee Lamb for more than 96 receiving yards. You like those picks? So download the Prize Picks app today and use code CLNS and get $50 instantly when you play $5. That's code CLNS on Prize Picks to get $50 instantly when you play $5. You don't even need to win to receive the $50 bonus. It's guaranteed. Prize Picks. Run your game.
But Professor, growing up for you, as we all grow up, young players thinking about the NBA, eyes on that, and sometimes our road go to the NBA, sometimes it don't. What are 2 things that your parents told you? Because we have some young listeners here. 2 things that your parents told you that still hold dear and true to you today.
Oh man. I think my pops was really an advocate of just like working super hard. You know what I mean? So it's hard for me to take away a direct quote, but I kind of followed his example in life of just like, he was a business owner. They own a jewelry store in my small town and he loved the game too. And he was just like a hard worker. So I think I inherited that when it came to the craft of basketball from him. And just like the dedication, like even my mom, she drove me. I remember I played for an AAU team and the practice was like an hour and a half from where we lived, but we went to practice like 3 or 4 times a week and she would drive me there. And so I think I learned their hard work and dedication kind of like wore off onto me. And I think that's something that really stuck with me forever. But yeah, just they always encouraged me to just prepare and like my dad's toughness too. Like I could never beat my dad until I was like a senior in high school. And then even then we'd have like a heated battle. You know what I mean? So I think it's hard for me to remember like certain quotes per se, but I think just the way they supported my passion and like the way they taught me like hard work and dedication to the craft, like I'll never forget,
Yeah, those are 2 of the best things, hard work, and that's why, you know what, Nick, and this is a prime example of the difference, the things that moms and dads do. The mothers are usually the ones that are always taking the long haul trips. My wife actually does it because I'm working. That's why when people get in front of the camera, they never say hi, Dad. They always say hi, Mom.
Hi,
That's
Mom.
why.
Yeah, mom's always looking out extra.
So, Professor, you've been in a couple of movies, and I know, do you get a lot of calls for that? You've been in Semi-Pro, you've been in Ball Don't Lie, you've been in Hustle. I mean, how do those come out? Do you have an agent, or they just see you and find you some kind of way, or how do they find you for those roles in the movies?
It's funny you even asked that because I'm right in the process of trying to get an agent. They all came a different way. So I moved to LA to shoot Ball Don't Lie in 2006, and Ball Don't Lie never actually even released. It's on IMDb and the internet. It looks like it came out, but it never did. And I had the lead in that film, and I learned a lot from it. I took acting lessons for like maybe 6 to 8 months, and then kind of just hopped in and did it. But I did it, I got good enough to do an okay job. But then as I got more comfortable in front of the camera, it was something I wanted to pursue. So I moved to LA. I got an agent, but then And One ended out of nowhere. And so my agents ended up letting me go as And One kind of crumbled and fell apart. YouTube and social media gave me a second chance, just to be, out there on the scene. And then like I got the opportunity to be in a Semi-Pro. It was like an open audition. You know what I'm saying? I just kind of like went and tried out, got that. And it was like a glorified extra role, not a lot of lines or anything. But it was still something I learned a lot from Woody and, Woody Harrelson and Will Ferrell. And then I was in She-Ball with Nick Cannon, I think like 2016. Nick just knew of me and kind of like reached out to be in it. I had like a little line exchange with him. And then with Hustle, Adam Sandler happened to be a fan, which blew my mind, right? He called me during COVID. We talked for like an hour and really just talked about basketball, and he told me he's going to be writing this film and he's going to write something in there for me. And I thought he was just being nice, you know what I mean? Like he didn't owe me that or anything. But sure enough, he followed up on it. And so I had a little cameo in that. But they all came randomly directly to me. And so now for the first time, you know, as I just turned 40 this year, trying to open up more doors for the future, I'm actually in the process of trying to land representation for film, TV, and commercial, like literally like this month. So it's funny you asked that.
You listening to Showtime with Coop. We got the professor in here. And one of our sponsors, Prize Pick. You a gambler, professor? You gamble? You gamble a little bit?
I get down on some sports, maybe a little bit. I'm not a huge gambler because I think I was actually unhealthy with gambling, like back in the day, you know, 20 years ago. But you know, like Prize Pick, stuff like that. I've worked with like, you know, fantasy sports, you know, betting and stuff like that. I think it's fun, you know what I mean, at that level.
The nice thing about Prize Picks, it's more fantasy than anything. It's picking. You know?
Using Prize Pick.
Yeah, baby.
Professor.
Let's go. I'm gonna get on it.
So, what did you think of the movie White Man Can't Jump?
The original White Man Can't Jump, I loved it. You know, like I think especially back in that time, there like wasn't a lot of basketball movies. You know what I mean? Like, so I think whatever little we got, we cling to and we love. You know, like Above the Rim is still one of my favorite movies of all time.
Hoosiers, baby, Hoosiers.
Who grew up, you know, watched Hoosiers back in the day. There was that Pistol Pete movie.
Pistol Pete, yeah, that they always showed us in school.
But I loved White Man Can't Jump because it was street ball. It was 90s, and I liked the gear. I think that's what people remember most about White Man Can't Jump was like the look up. Like obviously the hustle of like Woody acting like he's not good and then being good, but like the gear, you know, the 90s fashions with the hats that flip up, the biker hats and the colorful shorts and stuff like that. But
I saw that in the movies. I saw in the movies. That was like a big deal, exactly for the reason you're saying, Professor. Like there was no basketball movies, especially like current day, because you'd see like Blue Chips. That was probably one. Hoosiers took place so long ago, you know. But to see them on the street playing street ball, you know, and also to see a white and a black guy playing together was great. You know, all that was good. It was just such a good movie, the original.
I think so too, man. I think so too. Whatever we got back then, we loved. But I did take a liking to White Man Can't Jump.
Yep, me too.
Professor, your five all-time street ballers. Give them some names.
Man, that's so tough. People always ask me this, man. I'm gonna go with who are my idols. You know, before I even got on N1, I was just a big fan. You know what I mean? My idols became my rivals, and the next thing you know, they were my teammates. So who I was watching the most growing up, I got to go with Skip to My Lou.
He's good. He's good.
Yeah, I mean, he's the only guy who went to the league and got had a long-term career, you know. So Skip was somebody who I learned a lot from just watching, you know. Hot Sauce, extreme entertainer. You know, I had a ton of moves from him, you know, growing up, and then learned from him, you know, on the court. Just his showmanship and everything was like electric. Who else? So I loved AO, Aaron Owens from Philly. He had his own unique style of play. I learned a ton from him. I played almost my whole career with him, like as far as when I was like traveling and doing that.
Hot Sauce, where's he from? East, West Coast?
Hot Sauce from Atlanta.
Okay.
I think he was born in Florida, but from Atlanta. And he was always the headliner on N1. You know what I mean? It was like Skip started it. Then Skip got involved with the NBA, kind of had to let it go because it wasn't good politically. Hot Sauce was the headliner. I tried out. I kind of like had a bunch of battles with Hot Sauce. That's kind of how I got on. But then I continued to learn from Dude. He was the headliner while I was there. And then AO was always a headliner. You know, he was there the whole run. And then I would say, I'm going to say a name that doesn't get mentioned enough is Sick With It. Sick With It's from LA. He was like MVP of the Drew League back in the day, back in those N1 days, and somebody who I got a lot of moves from, and it's still like a big bro to me. And then I'll say Main Event. Main Event was one of the original. People call me one of the original N1 players because like who they remember, but there was really 5 OGs that started N1, and Main Event was like mainly the biggest staple in starting it off. Like the first N1 game is in his hood in Linden, New Jersey. So I'll say Main Event.
Those are such cool names. You know, Coop sounds so drab and boring now when you sit with it. And
Showtime though, Main Event is crazy. No, I think it's crazy, bro. I like it. But yeah,
Coop is the best.
Do Tango special with the names though, man. He was a beast.
Yeah. Hey, skip to my Lou.
Yeah, come on, that is awesome.
That kind of be hard to put on the back of a jersey, but skip to my Lou is all right there, man. So, Professor, your thoughts on today's NBA game? Now, you just came back from Abu Dhabi, and over there you saw the Denver Nuggets and them fucking fucked up Boston Celtics, right?
Yes.
Okay.
They're looking good, Coop. They're looking good. Preseason.
You know, Nick is from Boston.
Yeah, I'm in Boston. You can't see behind me, but the skyline's right behind me.
We go at it quite often, Professor. But tell us about today's game in the NBA.
That's how that works, man. The rivalry extends to podcasts too, you know? So we always go at each other.
Okay. Makes sense. I think today's NBA, man, it's interesting. I think players are really skilled. I think business is on an all-time high. I think that I hope at some point these young players can take notes from the OGs, though, when it comes to like competitiveness. And you really see it at like All-Star Weekend, right? You really see how the business has kind of weighed into the NBA, and it's so brand conscious that guys don't even go hard in the All-Star game. And that's from like fear of like, you know, I got outplayed by so-and-so and my brand may be affected or whatever. And I think like with the money that naturally comes, but you know, if certain guys can break the mold, I think Westbrook didn't let that affect him. I don't think Kobe didn't let that affect him. So I hope to see some competitiveness in those areas, but the game's on high. I think like the trickle down of the popularity in the NBA even helps somebody like me, right? Because like it opens up so much. I mean, I who would have thought like YouTube hooper, social media hooper could even turn into a community? Like I was the first one to do it when it ended, but I was doing it to get bookings for live shows. But I think by the NBA expanding and getting 2 or 3 times as popular as it was in the early 2000s, it opens up a lot of opportunities for guys like myself and just like fan expansion. So I think that's really cool. But I am curious to see when LeBron and Steph Curry retire and Durant and these guys. I'm wondering who's going to be the next face of the league, and I wonder if the NBA will stay on high like it is now, because I think you need those faces who cross over outside the demographic to create like global fanship. You know what I mean? So I'm curious to see what that looks like.
You know what? And that's why it was so sad for me. That kid, Ja Morant, I mean, had he just kept the slate clean, he could have been the new face because he can ball out.
Mm-hmm. He's a beast, right? I think the same. And hopefully he learned from those lessons. You know, I like to think it's not too late. I don't really know. That was a lot of controversy, but man, he's electric. Just the other day, I was watching the Ja Morant highlight tape just in the league, 4 or 5 years. And then I was watching the Ant Edwards highlight tape. I was like, these dudes are special. Like, this
Dr. J smacked Anthony Edwards yesterday. Did you see that?
No,
what did he say? About because Anthony Edwards was playing into what you're saying, the professor. Anthony Edwards was kind of bashing on the legends and Dr. J's all-time list, which Dr. J's all-time list, give him credit because he's being truly genuine, because it is kind of fucked up. Like when I look at it, I'm a little, but Doc was just like, you know what? I'll take any one of those guys, put them on the court with Edwards, and let's see what he says after that, because there's no way that kid is going to compete against Wilt Chamberlain, Elgin Baylor, Jerry West. You know, he went down the list of his top 5, you know, and I mean, I don't know that Edwards said anything back, but Doc has been smacking at the young guys a lot lately because of that.
No, I think his views, they're wrong. You know what I mean? Like he said Jordan's the only skilled player or something like that back in
Doc. Well, Doc is a little jaded. Are you talking about Doc or Edwards?
I'm saying and Edwards. That's
what he said, basically. Yeah.
Yeah, I think he's wrong, but I also wonder too, like, because I know when I was coming up in the early 2000s, sometimes when you're young, you don't have a respect for the history, right? For like the legends. Right. I think I was always a student of the game, so I was like highly respected it. But I wonder if I was as talented as Edwards, if I would look at it a certain way. I'm not sure.
Oh, I don't know. I got to interrupt you, Professor, because think about it. You know, the NBA has a responsibility to prop up their alumni. And when we were growing up, I'm a little older than you, but basically the same age. You remember those All-Star games? Every All-Star game, there was a current player honoring a legend, a Hall of Famer. I mean, David Stern was really good at honoring the game in a way that didn't make it feel tight or cheesy. You know what I'm saying? And I think the NBA surely lacks in that today. They do. They just do. It's a fact because they're constantly bickering with legends. It's like,
I see what you're saying.
You see what I'm saying? Like I love KD. I know KD, but you know what, man? Come on, like just stop, man. You know, some of that stuff is like just a little bit going at the legends. You know, and I think the NBA has an obligation to make sure that their current stars honor the stars before them. I think Coop. I don't know if you agree or not.
Yeah, I think out of respect, right? Because the views are wrong, right? They're disrespectful. So I think
think about the money they made compared to what.
I wasn't getting at the ant was wrong. I was just saying, was it a young dude just being young and dumb? You know what I'm saying? I wasn't sure it wasn't just that. And I didn't know, Coop, how did you guys in the NBA, when you were like in the NBA on high and you were in your 20s, did you have great respect? Did all players that were on your caliber have great respect for players in the 60s and the 50s?
I think so. I did. I mean, John Havlicek is who I kind of geared my game after, and Connie Hawkins and Wes Unseld. We always respected those guys. But you know what? I think the disrespect has come now because of the money. You know, back then the salaries were pretty much even, maybe a little bit, but these guys are making generational wealth. So sometimes that goes to your head, and you have a tendency to forget where you came from. And I'm not talking about the player. I'm talking about they got to forget where the game has come from. Mm-hmm. This game was built on the shoulders of obviously West and Russ, Havlicek and Russell and Chamberlain, but it's standing on the shoulders of Magic, Larry Bird, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, Dr. J. They're the reason why the money is so crazy now, along with just the media attention. But I'll always have respect. Always.
But I'm going to flip that too, because I think that today, to a degree, I'm not saying it bothers me because, you know, I'm a boomer. So, like, you know, I admire the legends. But as a player today, I would maybe, because the legends come off a little bit jaded about the money sometimes. You know, understandably, I would be too. So I think that plays into it too. You know, there's a little bit of jaded where it's just like, come on, man, don't fuck with me because, you know, you're making that kind of money because I got us this kind of, you know?
And that's what I think too. It's like there would be no them without the OGs, right? Without the Showtime Lakers, what are the current day Lakers, right? That tradition's only special because of what was paved.
Absolutely.
I do think the money, like you said, and then like our cultural, like this generation is more just like lacks respect in general. I think the moral decline. Don't you think it goes? I think it goes deeper to the moral
social media,
of the U.S. and like the culture. It's just a moral decline, like lack of like religion,
respect.
You know what I mean? I think it's a little bit nasty right now, and I think it stems from that. And those guys are giving the world like really early, right? You don't even have to be a superstar to make some incredible money. I was talking to Kevin Garnett about this just 2 days ago in Abu Dhabi. He was one of the first guys ever to get $100 million contract. Asked him what he thought about the contracts given out, and you know, he's saying he respects it, you know what it is, but I think his true feelings would have been like,
I agree.
I think we're talking about they should show respect to the OGs who got him there, you know.
You're listening to Showtime with Coop. We got the professor in the house. A couple of more questions. Professor, we want to thank you for your time. Like your bedroom. Is that your bedroom or your apartment?
It's like my living room, man. I got these.
Oh, okay, your living room. you got man toys in there. I didn't have all that. We had to go to the arcade for that. So you got that right now. But Professor, we're at the point of the show where we call it bench, cut, or start.
Man, this is always
and
tough.
I'm going to give you 3 names, and you tell me who you want to start, who you want to bench, and who you want to cut, okay? Here we go. Allen Iverson, Isaiah Thomas, Nate Archibald.
Oh, man.
Nate is a good one in that cluster. I wouldn't have thought of Tiny.
Okay, look, Iverson's like my guy. So this gets real tricky, but you know what's crazy? You know what's crazy though? Isaiah Thomas was the first NBA player to tell me that was a legend. He said that in like 2010.
I can hear that too.
Hey, get out your feelings, Professor, and call this shit straight, man. Who you starting?
The crazy thing is too, is that Allen Iverson's idol is Isaiah Thomas.
Yep.
Who you starting, Professor? Who you starting?
Man, y'all hurt. Because look, we just talked about respecting the OGs. Look, I'm gonna start Isaiah Thomas for pay.
Okay. Who you cutting?
I'm gonna bench Allen Iverson.
Okay.
He was my idol growing up, which is crazy. So he's still on the squad. The only reason I would cut Nate Archibald is because I'm actually just like unfamiliar with the whole career run. Like I've seen what's on YouTube, and I bet you he paved the way for Isaiah.
He was Rutgers Park too, man. I mean, he was a street ball player.
True, but I'm not familiar enough. I would just be fair because I'm on the call with OGs. So if I put him up to starter bench, I would just be trying to pander to politics. You know what I mean? Like I'm not familiar enough. You know
okay. I mean? Here's your second one.
Yeah.
Steph Curry, John Stockton, and Tim Hardaway.
That's easy for me.
I'm gonna start Steph Curry.
Why?
Love what he's done for the game. He's in my top 10. I think he's a phenomenal talent. Man, I'm gonna bench John Stockton, and I'll probably cut. I hate to say I would cut Tim Hardaway only because if we go by those three right there, I think that's in order of like what most people would measure their careers. I think you would say Steph 1, John, Tim 3. But these are hard, right? Because like Tim is somebody who actually influenced my game on a heavy level, right? Like, but I don't think he had a better career than John Stockton. I don't think not saying he couldn't outplay him on a given night, but I don't think he was.
Tim did not have a better career than Stockton. No way. Hardaway?
No, I was saying, John definitely had a better career.
Yeah.
But I was just saying Tim might be able to outplay him on some nights, but not
the
totality, he's not better.
Yeah. That's Professor, you ain't got to argue with Nick. This is your team. Go ahead, Nick. Your turn, Nick. Go ahead.
On that one, I'm going exactly the same way. I'm gonna do the exact same thing. I cut Tim Hardaway and it was Stockton and Steph. I start Steph and bench Stockton. On the other team,
I'll go with the other team.
Yeah, what was the other one? I'm curious what you say. This is gonna be a hot take. I can already tell.
Yeah, I would. Who were it was Tiny, Isaiah, and Allen.
Nate Archibald.
Well, I'm going with starting Isaiah, benching Tiny, and I'm cutting AI. That's for you, Professor. That's for you, bro.
Wear the Celtics ass out. That's
a hot take right there.
Now, here's the reason. Wait, now let me just give you the reason. Because Tiny won 2 titles. He won. He was the leading scorer in the league and the leading assist maker in the league. He did he win 2 or 1? Coop? He might be only won 1. Did he win 2?
Yeah,
2.
I think.
And I mean, he was an all-around winner. Where AI, I mean, obviously he defined our generation in a lot of ways, but he was I don't know that he was always the best teammate. I don't know. I mean, those Philly teams, they were good, but AI just I don't want to get too controversial here.
Hey, get out of here with that philosophical shit, man. This is what I'm working with.
Yeah, he got him to the finals. But no, I'd say
got him to the finals, but they lost.
We both gave hot takes though. Like this generation would have said AI, bench Isaiah, cut
for sure.
Right?
For sure. For sure. No doubt. And Isaiah was just fucking
I'm going Allen Iverson, Isaiah Thomas, Nate Archibald. I'm gonna start Isaiah because he'll get my team going. I'm gonna bench Allen Iverson because I got instant points coming off the bench, and I'm cutting Nate Archibald because he's a Celtic. The second one is
all right. We got to keep it real.
Curry, Stockton, and Tim Hardaway. I'm starting Curry. I'm benching Hardaway because Hardaway can score more. Both of them are pretty. Stockton and Hardaway are about the same defensive players. And Stockton, I'm gonna start. I'm cutting Stockton. So that's my thing. There you have it. Start, bench, cut. What?
Was Stockton as dirty as they say he was on defense?
Not against us, man. We were too big for him. I wasn't worried
Really?
about
Like they say he grabbing balls and
call
doing
him
all
John
that.
Boy. That used to fuck him up. We called
Who
John
did it?
got for this today. So he was a little guy. But last question, Professor. Yeah. Again, thank you for your time, sir. Nick, you have a question for him?
No, you actually hit 3 of my questions, so we're good. We're good. I was going to basically one of them I was going to say was, who today would you put on the level of AI or some of the people you mentioned as being influences, and from a ball handling standpoint?
Oh, Steph Curry,
Kyrie,
Jamal Crawford, even James Harden, though, like all the kids today, they only got the step back and the side. Yeah. Like they all kind of dribble like Harden. I think he had a lot bigger influence than people talk about, to be honest.
Professor, that side step back is traveling.
It is traveling.
That's traveling.
It was when I was growing up.
Okay. All right. You got it.
I could only do the traditional step back, right? Just the half. You get the half step back. Yeah.
I got a question for you, Professor. So the NBA is leaking out information that they're making the game, and I think Coop will agree with me. Like, I love it. They're going to make the game a little more physical again this year, more than last year.
Okay.
What does that do for the finesse of the game, the ball handlers, the from the finesse style? That's got to cramp that a little bit if they're calling it looser.
See, I don't think so, though. I think, like, depending on how deep your bag is, it should help you navigate. It could help you navigate. Right. Now, might not be as protected enough to keep going to the line and kind of like maybe you'll feel more comfortable in certain ways, but I think it all depends about how you go. There's so many different ways to handle the ball, right? Because you could even argue like John Stockton had a great handle.
Yeah.
Physical players trying to harass him on it. Just maybe not as like Showtime per se, but.
Yeah, you're right, because Isaiah had a great handle and he had physical Celtics beating the balls off him every game.
Yeah, I think so too. I think if they crack down on carrying, like if they wanted to crack down on not letting the triple step back.
Oh, dude.
It's really that whole gather philosophy.
Gather.
It's like, when is the gather and then the step, because the double step back is really like you step back and you're doing the gather and then you take your official step back. So you end up doing two or three or whatever. But if they cut down on that, then I think that would play into narrowing the arsenal that.
Do you like a more physical game? Do you like to see it more physical or more finesse?
I like the way they're calling it. I do. I think
it's going to be more this year.
I think, like, for the fan, I think they learned. Okay, here we go. Back to the early 2000s. I remember they made Iverson's crossover a carry.
Yeah.
Remember they started calling it a carry, and they cracked down on everything. And then you almost couldn't even cross over at one point. I think from 06 or 07 to 2013, you couldn't really even a crossover, you know what I mean? Like, you could like lean one way a little bit, like Chris Paul leaned a little bit, but there was no like cheat code moves. And then I think they learned from a fan standpoint, if you let guys like Harden be able to add his creativity to the game and Kyrie do his thing, then it makes for a more exciting, dynamic experience, which I don't disagree. But it's definitely a new standard for what's a carry and what's not, right? I mean, you couldn't do the Euro step, you couldn't do the side step, you can only step back, you couldn't side step.
The Euro step is it creeps me out because I look at it in action and I'm like, there's no way that's not a trap. And then you watch it in slow-mo and it is questionable. You know,
I look at all this from a defensive standpoint. That Euro step, you can do that shit. The ball got to go up to the hoop. I'm blocking that shit. Hands on top of the ball. That crossover, you wasn't getting by me, man. I was going to be down, but they let them kind of like they're going into a shot, then crossover. All that is cheating. It's cheating, and it's bad.
I agree. I mean, I'm not going to say I don't agree, but
I think you know what's interesting though. I think like people attacked. What happened was the rule book had a lot of loopholes though. Like, like, okay, look, the Euro step is just a giant 2 steps. So it used to be a step and a half, right, Coop? It was a step and a half. It was like your gather was a half step because you kind of like in that step you clinch the ball, so that's a half step, and then you one more. But it evolved to 2. Everybody still did like 2 steps, right? So then nothing ever said how big your steps could be, and then so then it turned into like and then also like the step back. it didn't say why we couldn't sidestep. We could only step back, but why can't you go to the side? So like, I think people were attacking all these like loopholes, like even the crossover. It just said you couldn't carry it, right? Well, AI didn't really have his hand under the ball. He kept it up here for extra long.
Yeah, Professor. Even if his hand's on side of that ball, that's carrying. That hand, your hand got to always be on top for the crossover.
Yeah, I mean, they made it a carry. It was. But all I was saying is I think if people attacked the loopholes where it's a little bit questionable.
Yeah.
And then it made for some entertaining highlights. And I think years later, they reassessed it and they were like, hey, let's go for this more hyper entertainment style of play. So, yeah, I mean, me being a street ball player, I have moves that are like middle ground. There are a lot of middle ground. You can arguable carry, but it makes for a fun experience. I think I try to do something different and innovative. Like I try to do ones the NBA still don't do. You know what I'm saying? Like I go behind the back, between the legs, or somebody gets close to me, I'll go like over their, it's over their shoulder. They think I'm throwing it around them. I'll go here and then come back to it, you know? Stuff like that.
I got one more question.
That's carrying. That's no good. That's
boomer alert. Boomer alert. I got a question.
Don't matter. Coop's throwing that stuff anyway. I already experienced it, man.
Oh, yeah, right, Professor. Professor, last question for you, baby. And we're going to let you get up out of here. Who is your GOAT of all time?
Probably Michael Jordan. Yeah, Michael Jordan. I grew up off Jordan. That's what I was the most a fan of. You know, because I was born in 84. So by the time I really found my stride and love for basketball was around 1990. You know what I mean? And then you guys, the Lakers faced off that 91 championship. And then for there, I rode the whole thing. But I don't know. You know, I as time goes on, I feel like Jordan was the most efficient. Like he was the best. I feel like Kobe may have had the most tools, like the deepest bag, but not better than Jordan, but like the deepest bag. And then I think like LeBron had the best run, like the longest run. You know what I mean? Like he's the most athletic in just a different way. That's what I feel like.
When was the last time you heard remember when we were growing up, the Gatorade commercials, the Like Mike commercials? When was the last time you listened to that song?
Maybe a couple years ago. I was looking into.
When you leave the house today, put it on Spotify because you're going to end up singing it, and it's going to bring you right back to when you were a kid. Because it does for me. You know, the white man can't jump.
Be like Mike.
I want to be like Mike.
Just like Mike. Be like Mike.
What do you think, though, Coop? I mean, you faced all the GOATs who are mentioned today. Like, what's your opinion? You know, I'm sure you weren't. That Be Like Mike probably got on your nerves. Like, what do you think?
Yeah, no, my GOAT is Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. And people don't really know how great Kareem was. Kareem was doing it at Power Memorial. They outlawed the dunk for this guy, which enabled him to come up with the greatest unstoppable shot in the game today, the sky hook. Kareem will always be my GOAT.
Yeah, I mean, you know, I will say as a new generation person, when I watch that hook, I'm shocked how far he can make that from so far and so accurate. I can't.
You know what?
Graceful.
Professor, it was like somebody's jump shot in front of you with one hand, except that he just had it out here. There you go behind me. He had it like that.
And when he was younger, it was a beautiful shot. It was graceful to watch. It was just stunning. But as he got older, as with all of us, it slowed down a little bit. But as a Celtics guy, I got to say Kareem's right there on my list too. I mean, if he's not the GOAT, he's in the top three.
That's who that shot is against the Celtics.
Yeah, Reggie Lewis, I see. Darren Day, I see back there. The Chief. See Darren Day back there?
The great Reggie Lewis is on there too.
Reggie Lewis, yep.
Anyway, Professor, we want to thank you so much, my man. Thank you for your time, your energy. Anything you want to say?
Can I sneak in one more question?
Got going on?
Can I sneak in one more question?
Yeah.
One more question?
Sure.
Can you, just because, you know, Coop will be out in New England this weekend for obvious reasons. Congratulations. I'll see you this weekend. But it's shocking, and I think his Lakers friends bust his ass because he's got a lot of fans in Boston. You know, Coop was the bird stopper. So we have a tremendous respect for Michael Cooper. And so my question is Celtics related for Celtics fans that listen to this show. What did you take away? Give me 3 takeaways Celtics related from Abu Dhabi.
Oh, takeaways. My 3 Celtic takeaways were that they're really deep. I would say like their bench is super good. You know, you even got like
there yet. Yep.
somebody like Peyton Pritchard who only plays like 10 minutes a game, but he came in there, he hit like 2 or 3 threes from 5 feet behind the line. Yeah. Even played some scrappy defense, and that's like someone who only plays 10 minutes a game.
Yep.
Then I would say Jaylen Brown is just like pure toughness.
Yep.
He does everything good, does a little bit of everything.
He bulked up, man, too. He really got ripped up. He's ripped this year, Jaylen.
Yeah.
He got bulked up.
Yeah, he looks ready to go. And then I would just say Tatum, man. Tatum got skills. I would say he's no Kobe. They be trying to compare him to Kobe. He's not Kobe, in my opinion, but he's still, man, that dude's tough, man. I mean, he comes out there leading scorer most times. So yeah, I think they're gonna be tough again.
You think they can repeat?
Unfortunately, Coop.
You think they can repeat?
To be honest,
I'm doing this to kill Coop, you know. This is why I'm doing this.
that Western Conference is so tough. I don't know if they can repeat, but they'll be favored.
Yeah. Yep. Coop, who, after watching those 2 games, I mean, their exhibition, whatever, but I can't say there's nobody more comparable to Larry Bird than Joker. I mean, he was doing lefty hooks. In the air, he was changing hands. He was changing passes in the air. His footwork. I don't care what that guy says. He studied Larry Bird. There's no doubt.
I would agree with that because Joker is a very good player.
The fadeaway he has. It's Bird-esque, all of it. Did you see that there, Professor? Did you see a lot of Larry Bird in Joker? I mean, he's so damn good.
I would say coming away from those 2 exhibition games, going to both of them, I was most impressed with Joker. His
tan. No, his tan. You liked his tan. He was all tanned up. Did you notice? He had like more color than anybody out there.
I was just noticing, to be honest, though, like Larry Bird was a lot smoother, though, right? Larry Bird was a lot more tight and smoother.
When he was younger, especially.
He almost looks like he's going to fall, but then he like makes it. Like I don't even understand it, but you know, sitting courtside though, he is super strong. Like he hits hard. When he bumps, he's hitting them.
He's a big dude.
And then when he bumps you and he gets you off balance, and then he changes footwork.
That is a Larry Bird move to a T. And I'm going to tell you, Professor, like you're right. Bird was tighter, and Coop could attest to this when he was younger. But in the last 5 years of Larry's career, that's how he played. He had to use his physicality. Coop, you could probably agree with that. He had to use his physicality because he couldn't move anymore. And I think Joker is less athletic than Larry Bird and uses his physicality to make things happen. But, man, he is so fun to watch, even when you're rooting against him.
I'm amazed that nobody can stop him. I just couldn't believe that. Even in Team USA, I was in Abu Dhabi. I saw his team play Team USA, and nobody could stop. Like, it was unbelievable. It was an automatic bucket.
From and Anthony he's so stone-faced. He's so stone-faced.
I was impressed, man. I couldn't believe it.
Man, let's get off this Boston bromance that y'all got going. Don't let him change you.
Every episode, Professor. I do this.
Don't let him change you. I know that you're a Laker fan.
I'm a Laker fan. Yeah, I live here 20 years, so I'm.
Yeah, so don't let him change you with this Boston stuff. Boston is good. Joker's good. Larry Bird is good. You were good, Professor. Want to thank you for coming on the show, man. Anything that we can do for you in the future, please let us know. Y'all, look out for the Professor because he got it going on YouTube.
Hey, humble man, always an honor. Appreciate you guys.
Have a great one, man.